Hey y'all, so in my last video I talked about how I had just moved to this new place and now I'm moving again. Long story short, the fall semester was my last semester of my master's degree and my apartment would only let me renew my lease for an entire year, so I moved here short term to have a short-term lease which ends right about now. And while I'm in the process of applying to jobs and job hunting in general, I'm going to be staying with my parents for a little while, so I'm not going to be constructing these 3 full bookcases. I'm only gonna have my bookcase in my room at home and my little 2-shelf bookshelf that's sitting right behind that camera that currently has like my textbooks and stuff on it. So over the next few months, I'm only going to be able to have a select number of books out with me, and the rest of them are gonna stay packed in boxes. Additionally, because of the move, I've also decided to do KonMari 2.0, but like an abbreviated version where I go through my belongings again and discard things that I don't need anymore and kind of evaluate how the first time through the KonMari method actually benefited me, if at all. So in this video, I'm going to be going through my books and deciding which ones I'm going to permanently unhaul, completely get rid of, which ones I'm going to like temporarily unhaul and just store in boxes at my parents' house, and which ones I'm actually going to keep out with me over the next few months or so at my parents' house. So because this is my second time through the KonMari process, I'm actually going to be changing the way that I do it. I am going to edit it for convenience and also just to see if there's a difference from the first time. So instead of going and taking everything off the shelves like you're supposed to do, I'm actually just going to go shelf by shelf and still touch every item, but not take everything off in one fell swoop. Partially for convenience because I haven't started boxing anything up yet. So if I took these off, I'd have to put them back on and then box them up later, which I don't really want to do. And also just because I feel like going by category is more interesting for a video, so that's what I'm gonna do. I have no idea how many books I'm gonna unhaul, probably not a ton, but last time I said that and I got rid of like 40 or 50 books. But I do have an Excel spreadsheet that I use to keep track of my books, and I did go through that the other day and just mark which ones I thought I might want to get rid of, and those are the ones that I'm going to be paying special attention to as I go through here. There are some that are kind of obvious that I'm not going to get rid of, like this entire top shelf over here because it's Harry Potter, but there are some where I'm really on the fence and some that I definitely want to get rid of. So we'll see as we go along. That said, my goal for the number of books that I want to keep out with me at my parents' house is around 30. I don't think I'm going to read anywhere near that number, but I don't know how long I'm going to be there, and I do want to have some flexibility in terms of mood and genre and stuff like that. So I'm aiming at around 30. But I think I'm gonna pull books off my shelf as I go, and then if there's more than 30, I might assess the situation from there and then maybe pare that down into a smaller list. I don't know, we'll see as we go along. So like I said, we're gonna go shelf by shelf, so I'm gonna move this direction and we're gonna handle this bookcase first because that's gonna be the easiest one. Okay, so here are the first 3 shelves I'm gonna be dealing with. Now, for most of these books, I can tell you already that I'm going to keep them but pack them away. Because the books I'm planning to keep out with me are mostly unread books with a few exceptions, and I've read almost every single book that you see in frame, at least on this shelf, not necessarily on that one. My initial instinct is to leave out Harry Potter because it's my favorite series, but I do have ebook copies of every single book, and I don't really have a purpose to keep them out, and I also have paperback copies of the first 5 in my room in my parents' house, so like literally no reason to keep any of these out. Same with this shelf. I think I have duplicate copies of most of the Pendragon series in my parents' house too, and I don't plan on rereading the Lunar Chronicles, so again, those are gonna be packed away, keeping them in a box. This shelf is where it gets a little interesting because except for these 2, I've read all of them, and I honestly don't think I'm gonna be in the mood to read any Shadowhunter books over the next few months. That said, I am gonna add Lady Midnight to the list of books to potentially keep out. I have an audiobook copy of Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which I went to read before this, so I don't need the physical copy of that one, but I think I'm gonna keep this one out. Okay, so I think this is about as good as it's gonna get to see both of these bottom shelves, so I might be slightly cut off. So my parents' library has the entire Lux series, so I don't think I'm gonna keep that out just because even if I'm in the mood for it, I can get it at the library. The one series that I'm kind of questioning is this one. I think I want to get rid of it. I read Daughter of Smoke and Bone earlier this year, and I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. But since then, I haven't thought about it. I don't care about it. I kind of don't plan on continuing the series anymore. So I think I'm getting rid of them. So you know what? Let's just do it. There's no joy being sparked holding this. I'm getting rid of it. And I didn't totally love this series, but I do love seeing it on my shelves because it's really pretty, so I'm gonna keep that. And I think that's it that I'm doing for the section. All the rest of these books are staying packed. So although there are like 9 partial shelves in frame right now, the ones that I'm gonna be dealing with are the ones directly behind me, my Brandon Sanderson shelf and my 2 manga shelves. Right off the bat, the first thing that I see on these shelves is that I'm keeping Elantris out. I've been meaning to get to this 5 ever, and if I'm gonna read a Brandon Sanderson book, it's gonna be this one. I'm not getting rid of any of these books. I love Brandon Sanderson. I love my Brandon Sanderson collection. I was tempted to do something with the Patrick Rothfuss books, but I think I'm gonna keep them for now. I'm also gonna be keeping out the last 8 volumes of the Battle Royale manga because these are quick reads. I've been meaning to get to them for a long time. If I need something quick that I want to read, these are gonna be them. I think I'm gonna get rid of the first volume of Tokyo Ghoul. I've had this on my shelves for over a year now, and I think I just got it because it was a popular manga, but I've never really been that intrigued by the concept. So I think this is going. I think this is the only other manga I'm going to keep out as a potential read for the next few months. This is the 6th volume in the Orange manga series, and I've been meaning to get to it for a little while, and I really do want to get to it, so this is another quick one that I might want to get to over the next few months. And I think that's it for these 3 shelves. These are all going to be packed away. I don't plan on reading the unread ones in the next few months, and also I don't want to get rid of anything else on these shelves. So I actually, in one way or the other, am going to keep the majority of the shelf out. 2 more books that I really want to get to that are high on my TBR. I need to reread The Mime Order and read The Song Rising. And that's it for the shelf. I do want to read the 3rd book in the Diviner series very soon, but I have it on audiobook and I also have the 2nd book on audiobook. So if I want to reread the 2nd book, I can do that via audiobook, and if I want to read the 3rd one, I can do that via audiobook. This is the shelf where it's going to get interesting. Good riddance. Adios. Getting rid of these. I rewatched my video where I did an As I Read of Falling Kingdoms, and I already didn't really care about the series in the months since doing that, but watching that back, I literally don't care. I don't want to read it, and I'm getting rid of it. I already have been kind of meh about reading this book. Like, I picked it up 2 years ago, haven't read it, and then I heard someone say that there's a lot of sexism in this book, so like, bye. That was loud. Deadly Class. I've had this comic for forever. I forget that I have this comic. I don't care that I have this comic, so bye. So I moved over here because you couldn't see the comics, which is what I'm on now. And to be honest, I'm extremely tempted to get rid of every single one of these because I realized that I don't really care about comics and any of the comics I've read or just reading comics in general. I love manga and I don't mind graphic novels, but I'm not a big fan of comics. And you can tell how much I don't care about the Saga series because I don't even have them in order. I literally shoved them on the shelf like 6 months ago when I moved here and haven't touched them and didn't even notice they were out of order until right now sitting here. So I read a chapter of Morning Glories volume 1 for a try a chapter tag Unhaul version, and I decided that I wanted to keep it. And I since have gotten the 3rd volume and have never considered picking up either one, and I think I'm just gonna get rid of them. Although I'm being very flase-da, as Pearl would say, and very like salty about it, I did put a little bit of thought into this ahead of time, and I already kind of knew what I was getting rid of a little bit. Not completely, but those, I just don't care about them. Here's the problem that I face with the rest of these. I like the Saga series. I like the Giant Days series. The Lock and Key series was okay, but it's a nice, pretty collection on my shelves. So I think I'm gonna break the KonMari rules here and keep these. They don't spark joy when I hold them, but I always found that to be a very ambiguous concept anyway. Like, I've always had to ask myself, like, do I find a purpose for this, or is it useful? Is it something I like? Or for books, is it something I'm still interested in? And I do have the tiniest spark of interest for these still, even if I don't totally love them. I think we'll see when I get these out again, when I move to my next like permanent place where these bookshelves go up. Of all of them, I do think I'm most likely to get rid of this because I don't really care, but I like having this on my shelf. So I don't know. Okay, so we're now moving over to these 3 shelves, which honestly for me are kind of the most interesting ones because they have most of the books that I have the strongest opinions on. So let's jump into it. House of Leaves is the book that I'm currently reading, so I'm keeping this out with me. I'm only like 60 pages into it, so I definitely won't be done with this by the time I move, so this is staying out. Similarly, I'm also going to be keeping out The Familiar by the same author because I'm doing a big book reading challenge thing in 2019, and this book is very big, and there are also 4 other ones, so I definitely want to get to this sometime in the near future, so this is definitely staying out. This is the last time I'm going to repeat myself about books on my TBR, but this is one that's really intriguing me. I'm still kind of in that like dark academia, more mystery mood than fantasy, so I'm going to be keeping this out because I want to get to it soon. Also going to keep out Shadow of the Wind. I'm also going to be keeping out my Korean edition and my mass market paperback version of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie because I'm using these as Korean learning materials. Long story short, basically I'm going through this and trying to translate sentences and then checking this one to see if I'm correct. We just had a power outage. Did you see that? Okay, that was weird. So I'm definitely keeping out Ghostwritten because it's the one that intrigues me the most, and also I saw someone say that it is one of his most approachable books, so I think I'm gonna start here. And I'm also gonna keep out Cloud Atlas because it's the next most interesting to me, and I also think there's a movie, so that might be interesting. I don't know, I'm keeping this one out. So I think I'm also gonna keep out People Like Us and Nice Try Jane Sinner. Definitely this one, probably this one, we'll see. I'm also planning on keeping out all of my Murakami books except for 1Q84, which I've already read, because I don't know which one I want to read first, and I have some on audiobook and I don't have some on audiobook, and these are the ones that I'm like most intrigued by, and I just want options. We might already be at 30, but I might not count the manga in that 30 because they're so short. I don't know. I'm getting rid of Summer, Fireworks, and My Corpse. This is a book that I actually got to do a challenge where I read the first 5 books that Goodreads suggested to me, and then I never actually did the challenge. I don't know why. This was like kind of interesting to me, but I forgot that I had it, so I'm getting rid of this. I think I'm gonna keep out Every Heart a Doorway, and I think I'm actually gonna get rid of The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I read this a couple of years ago, I think, and it was fine. I don't have strong opinions on it, and I really don't care about it, honestly, so I'm gonna get rid of it. And I think that's actually it for this section of shelves, so we're gonna move on. Okay, so this is the last shelf right here that we're gonna be looking at, because the one down at the very bottom is mostly K-pop albums, and that's not books, obviously. I'm gonna be keeping out these 3, these 2 because they're writing craft books, and Infinite Jest because big books year. I'm gonna try to tackle this. It's time to get rid of this. I love the movie, but the book was very meh for me, and I've only kept it around because I love the movie, so that's not a reason to keep a book. I lied a little bit. There are some books down on the shelf, but they're like Harry Potter analysis books and some journals, which I didn't feel like was worth going through on camera, but I forgot I had this down there, which I think I'm gonna keep out because I forgot I had it. I keep forgetting I have some of these books because I haven't been in like a reading mood lately, and so sometimes I get a book and then I never think about reading again for like 2 months, and then I realize that I got some of these. So this is one that is a good thing that I have it, and I want to read this sometime soon, so I'm gonna put this in the keep out pile. And I moved over here so you could see the ones that I was sitting in front of. The rest of these are ones that I still have some use for, especially these nonfiction ones, but I am going to pack, so that's it for this shelf. So you can barely see me, but this is the best angle I could get on these books that I'm keeping out. So I counted all the books, and apart from And Then There Were None, which I'm using as like a study tool, and the manga, there are 28 books here. So if you add in the manga, there's like, I don't know, like 35, something like that. But I feel like that's like a pretty good amount because the manga are really quick And like I said, I wanted to keep out about 30, and I count manga as books, obviously, but like as little books, and this one's also really small. So like, I think this is a manageable amount to keep out, and I'm happy with this. Now that I'm done with that, I moved this back up because I really can't deal with that angle. So I counted the books that I unhauled, and there are 15. So I think that's a pretty reasonable amount. I definitely think that I could have gotten rid of more. I think that I didn't totally follow the KonMari method as I should have, because there are definitely some other books on these shelves that do not spark joy, but that I decided to keep because I'm not totally sure, and I'd rather keep them and then decide to unhaul them later than unhaul them now and regret it. That said though, I can't think of any books that I got rid of last time I did the KonMari method that I regret unhauling. So maybe this is just me worrying for no reason, but I do think that I'm gonna end up doing some sort of declutter of my stuff after I move to a permanent place as well. So I think that worst case scenario, I get rid of it then. Like I said, I know that I'm not following the method to a T, but I think that it's better to keep it and then get rid of it than it is to get rid of it now and regret it. Also, in the process of redoing this method, I reread the book section, and there was one quote in here that I vehemently disagreed with, and I'll explain really quickly why. Not to say that I agree with everything else in here, because honestly, it would be hard to remember everything else in here, but the one thing that I did definitely disagree with is this one that is bolded in here that says, "The moment you first encounter a particular book is the right time to read it." Incorrect. While that's definitely true for some books, it's also not true for some books, and I realized that last year when I was doing my TBR Unhaul series, because I read several books that I'd had for a while and had vastly different opinions on them. For example, I read Falling Kingdoms and Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and those are both books that I think if I'd read them when I got them, I probably would have enjoyed them more. But then the big standout for that series for me was 1Q84, which I probably would have disliked and gotten rid of if I'd read it when I first got it. But reading it last year, I loved it. It was my favorite book I read last year. It was a 4-star, but I didn't read very much last year. So like, it was my favorite book that I read all year last year, and I'd had it for like 3 years at that point. And I probably would have hated it if I'd read it when I first got it. So while I think that that quote isn't like completely wrong, for a lot of books, when you first encounter it, it is the best time to read it. It's not true 100% of the time, and if I'd stuck to that, I would have not read a book that I absolutely love now. So this book, while helpful, is not right all the time. I have another post-it of something that I also disagreed with, but I'll get to that in the last video of the series where I talk about the overall thoughts. So that's it for this video. I'm not sure how to end this. I unhauled 15 books. I'm temporarily unhauling like 200, I think. I think that's about the number that I'm gonna have in boxes, is about 200. So that's gonna be fun. But I am excited about the ones that I have here. I am definitely more in a reading mood now than I have been over the past few years. I just need to motivate myself to actually read, which is something that I've been trying to do lately. I will leave links either in the cards or down in the description, or both, to the video that I made talking about the big books that I'm wanting to read in 2019, because it is my goal to read one book over 500 pages every single month, or at least like read 12 of them, maybe not like one every month, but you get my point. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I will leave links down in the description to my blog, Twitter, and Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.